because they actually appeared in Super Bowls, and he actually got them to AFC Championship games. So they actually won playoff games. But for a long time, Bill Cowher did not win, win the big one, aka the championship. And the Pittsburgh Steelers stuck with him. And he finally got it done. And maybe this is what Mike Brown is thinking. Maybe he's thinking, I'm going to stick with him. I believe he's going to get it done. I don't know. But he is around with an extension. Now, the extension, here's the other thing. The extension don't mean anything. There's coaches that we're going to go down this list that got extensions, and then they got fired the next year. So, extension basically just saying, hey, if you do what you say you're going to do, then you'll be around here for a little bit longer. But we can still get rid of you. But Marvin Lewis, I'm telling you, a.k.a. Teflon Don. His name is Teflon Don. You know? Shouts out to my man Joe Chop, who's in the building tonight in the Wait a Minute Show chat room. He is going off about Teflon Don. Now, one, he's already criticized me about my Cosby impersonation. Yeah, it's okay, Joe Cha. Don't matter. Yeah, I know. But he is talking about, 10 plus years of playoff appearance and with no wins. So obviously he said he needs to be fired ASAP. It seems like it seems like it adds up. You don't win, you get fired. But man, he got some type of loophole or something. I don't know. But he ain't going nowhere. At least for 1 year. So Marvin Lewis is still around here hanging out, coaching the Cincinnati Bengals. And he is laughing at everyone, saying, "Ha ha, you thought I was gone, didn't you?" All right, so this past Monday, New Year's, we had two college football games. One was just glorious. The other was just bleh, if you will. But it doesn't matter because two teams prevail and they will be meeting each other in the national championship. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of credit because I did say Georgia and Alabama would win these games and meet each other in the national championship, which will be held next week, next Monday, here in the ATL in the Benzo. Yeah, the new dome. Now, we had an awesome game, double overtime with Oklahoma and Georgia. Nick Chubb, Shoney Michel, Baker Mayfield, this kid Snow, Henderson for Oklahoma scoring was all over the place. There was no defense, and everyone loved, a back and forth game, and especially going into double overtime. So we all know how that happened. Georgia pulled it out in double overtime, winning the game, and they were down 31-14. You got to give Georgia credit. They did not fall apart. They could have easily just said, you know what? Hey, they got us. It's not our day. Today's not our day. And then Kirby Smart basically said, nah, it's not happening, bro. Bro, we're going to get this together. We're going to put this together. And they went and made some moves and came back, tied the game up, and took everything. Took it from Oklahoma. Baker Mayfield, he was night and day in two halves. First half, he was great. The second half, he wasn't as great. Then we had the second game. Shouts out to my man DJ Knox that's in the building as well. And shouts out to E Double. I see you out there. But this Clemson-Alabama game, I think it kind of played out how I thought it would. If we were going to get a game, for the ages, that's where I saw it, Georgia and Oklahoma. I did not see it necessarily with Clemson and Alabama. Now, I didn't think it would be that blah of a game, but that's how Alabama likes it. They like to muck it up, smother you. Clemson couldn't get anything going. Gave Nick Saban, weeks to prepare for this game, just like they did before, So now we know Alabama, out of the 3 times that they've met, of course, 2 of them were for championships, and this one wasn't, but this was to go to the championship. They're 2-1 against Clemson in the past 3 years. Now, of course, this is a whole different different team, because you got guys, that was there last year that's not there, that's in the NFL or they graduated or whatever it is. So it's not the same roster, but it is the same schools. But we want to talk about Monday, January 8th. It's going down. It is going down. So there are a few questions that I got. First is the quarterback matchup. Jalen Hurts versus Jake Fromm. Now, Jalen Hurts was just in this situation last year. True freshman in the national championship game. It's like, what is this true freshman going to do? The lights are on. The focus is on them. They're a big name school. They have a tradition, a story, a storied tradition, of winning, of excellence. Now, Georgia is not as, if you will, on that level as Alabama, but now quarterback Jake Fromm he's in the same situation. True freshman in the national championship game. Now he's going against a kid in Jalen Hurts that he's been there before. And even last year, Jalen played pretty well, especially near the end of that game against Cleveland. 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 Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Cleveland, not in the championship game. No, I'm sorry. Clemson. My apologies. But he played well. He showed up near the end of that game to make plays. And we all know how that went. But that is going to be a matchup to watch. Can Alabama rattle Jake Fromm? So far, the kid has been, he's a freshman. So, you can't expect the world from him yet because he's still learning. He's learning on the job. But he has made the necessary, adjustments. He hasn't gotten rattled. When he had to make passes, he's made passes. He hasn't put his team in horrible position. So the quarterback play, that's something that I want to keep an eye on. And I think that's something we should keep an eye on. Jake Fromm versus Jalen Hurts. Second thing, I really want to see how Georgia running backs are going to handle this Alabama defense. We just saw what they did to Clemson. Shut it down. They weren't too hot themselves, but they made it horrible for Clemson. Can they reproduce something like that? It's going to be pretty hard. Shouts out to my man 334 Bama boy. We in here talking about your Crimson Tide right now, 334. But can the Crimson Tide slow down this two-headed monster in Sony Michel and Nick Chubb? The game that they had against Oklahoma, Sony Michel had 185 yards. I think Nick Chubb had 45 yards. 5 touchdowns between the two of them. Now, if anybody can do it, it can be Alabama. But that is something that we're gonna have to keep our eye on. Is that they're running Georgia's running game against Alabama's defense. 334 Bama boy is already in here saying they won't get 60 yards. Ooh. Woo. That's woo. Now, 334 Bama boy, are you wanting to book that? Because if you put that, if you're gonna put that Alabama's gonna hold Georgia running backs collectively under 60 yards, you gotta book it. on this show. You can't just put it in the chat and then just keep moving on. You got to book that. So if you're going to say that, book it. That is something to keep an eye on. That's where Jake Fromm has been, leaning on, is that running game, the seniors. Why not? Ooh, and Bama Boy has said, book it. So y'all heard it here. Bama Boy said they won't get 60 yards. He said they. And that is Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Shouts out to my man Rough Buff, a.k.a. Fuquan Shabazz, a.k.a. Bills Mafia. Congratulations, sir, on reaching the playoffs. Now, this is the biggest thing that concerns me about this game. That Georgia has had, that game was so electric. That game was so emotional. Will there be a letdown in this championship game? Because it took so much and you had to do so much to come back in that game. They're going to be excited anyway for the national championship game. But to take yourself to that level again where you had to go, I don't know if they can get there. Can they get there and do what needs to be done so they don't have a letdown game? Because this is not the game you want to have a letdown game. National championship anyway, but against Alabama. Did I mention that this game is in the Benzo, in the ATL? What other perfect place could you have this game? It's pretty much almost smack dab in the middle between Tuscaloosa and Athens. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Athens, Georgia. Well within driving distance for both teams and their fans. Shouts out to my man Boosa, who's in the building, and also Sluggo. So can Georgia, bring the heat? Georgia got a pretty good defense themselves. They're not, they're not shabby. They're not scrubs, as Stephen A. would say. I'm going to love watching this game. I'm not going to say it's going to be the game of the century or game of the year or anything like that, but I really do think this game will be better than what we think it would be. For as much as they charging to get in this game, it better be. So I'm looking online, $1,400 to see some amateurs play. We ain't gonna get in. I ain't gonna get into it. People getting paid. I ain't gonna get into that. I'm gonna get off that. But $1,400, jeez, low paying to me. Not me. I don't like jail time, but low paying. He talking about sneaking in. Lopan, you're not supposed to say that out loud, man. This is recorded. So if you do it, they're going to go back to this and say, you had already predetermined, premeditated that you were going to sneak in. You can't do that. Indeed. Okay, fine. Hey, do what you do, bruh. Do what you do. But when they take you down and you at the pokey, don't call me. Because if I get, you have a collect call from, you have a collect call from, indeed. Yeah, I'm going to decline it. I'm going to decline the call. But back to this game. Last thing, on this game, and we'll move on, but it's the master versus the student. Kirby Smart was just there a couple years ago. So I'm not going to say, he knows, some weaknesses of Nick Saban or anything like that. But it is, the master versus student. Is he ready? Is Kirby going to be able to make those adjustments that he needs to make if they're down coming into halftime? Because we know Nick Saban and them, they make the adjustments since over halftime. And they come out and they play different if they had a horrible first half. But if they have a good, first half, then they put on the pressure. Who's going to be the first coach to make a mistake